post-draft tip-off edition. My voice is hammered from a week worth of constant broadcasting and probably lack of sleep, and today's not helping. Our flight is, we're leaving at 4:50. It's 3:30 in the morning right now in New York. I might take a quick hour nap, but I thought before I took a quick hour nap, I probably should give you a little tip-off there, because otherwise you wouldn't get one until about 11, 12 o'clock, and people would say, where's tip-off? The draft is in the books, and I don't think anybody could have imagined the day that the Jazz had. I opened yesterday's tip-off simply saying there's no possible way that Dante Exum gets to 5. I think we all kind of knew there was one possible way, and that was if Orlando were to balk. The key to the draft, as we said yesterday, was to get the Philadelphia 76ers to take Joel Embiid, and they did. And when they took, stunningly, I can't believe what Philadelphia did in this draft, that they took 2 players who won't play for them next year. So Philadelphia takes Embiid, and then the word had started to spread. I tweeted it out. We had talked about it on 97.5's coverage, that we had been hearing that all of a sudden that Exum was sliding. My best knowledge is the Jazz draft board was Parker, Wiggins, Exum, Gordon, Smart. They knew that if Embiid would go, that they would then be able to get either Embiid, Exum or Gordon. And when that happened, they were fortunate enough to have it all fall. And they got a lightning-fast, 6'6" point guard who's young. He's 18 years old, and Dante Exum. From November and December, October, November, December, when I asked our scouts and scouts around the league about Wiggins and Parker and Exum, those were the 3 names to start the year: Wiggins, Parker, and Exum before Embiid emerged. And everyone I talked to said to me, it's this kid could be number 1. And they would kind of giggle a little bit, and they'd have a little bit of a sheepish smile to them, and they'd hope that you wouldn't tell too many people about it, as though it was their little secret. And then it got way out, and then it was clear he was going to commit to the draft as he went kind of on his hiatus. I will say that as we got closer, some people started to get nervous, and this is not a guarantee in any way, shape, or form with Exum. He is young. He's the pendulum player of this draft. He could be an absolute superstar with his speed and his ability, handle, and his vision. He could be just terrific. There's also a chance he's just simply not going to ever be able to shoot well enough, that he could be, his size is unusual. There aren't a lot of 6'6" point guards. So that unusualness could work against him in some capacity, and that he never fully emerges as an NBA player at the level that we're speaking of. Somebody in the top 5 busts every year. One player in the top 5 every year actually becomes a non-starter, and one player usually busts. So you got to look at this top 5 and wonder. My guess on the bust is Embiid. I wouldn't have touched him. And maybe it's going to turn out. It's hard to imagine that Aaron Gordon or Dante Exum is going to be a non-starter, but in theory somebody should. Now this draft might be a little different when you consider the value of it and you consider how poor last year's was. They can average out together, and then everybody's pretty good this year. So the Jazz are ecstatic. Somebody in the front office texted me and said, 5 years from now we may look back and see this as the day that changed for the Utah Jazz. They think somebody else during the draft period said to me, I said, what do you think of all these guys? He said, there's only one guy that I watch, that I get excited about. When I watch Dante Exum, the hair on my arm stands up. I'm just excited about him, and just the speed and the there's kind of the way he can get up and down a floor. He is probably going to be the fastest player in the NBA over the size of 6'4" on the first day he steps on the floor in the NBA. He could kill Summer League with his speed. He's such a superior athlete. Trey's not. And so when Trey went to Summer League, he wasn't able to take advantage of guys. This guy's such a superior athlete that he, even being 18, 19 years old, he may absolutely blast through Summer League, getting to the free throw line a ton, doing a bunch of things. He will turn 19 July 13th. So he will be 19 years old fairly soon. It's interesting. I was looking at it on basketballreference.com tonight, and I was trying to find players that were 19 years old, guards, 19-year-old guards that had played in this league. That's really all, just single seasons, 19-year-old guards that played in this league, and there's 21 of them. Kobe Bryant, Kyrie Irving, a young Tony Parker, Stephon Marbury, Bradley Beal, Drew Holiday played at 19, C.J. Miles, Juan Wagner, who turned out to bust, Archie Goodwin this last year, Xavier Henry, J.R. Smith, Sean Livingston, Tony Roten, Lewis Williams, Marcus Teague, Deshaun Stevenson, Sebastian Telfair, and I think I may have already said C.J. C.J. played at 18. C.J.'s 19-year-old year is actually one of the worst years there. But Marbury, 19-year-old point guards, Marbury, Parker, Kyrie Irving, Drew Holiday have done it already. And actually, none of those guys struggled that miserably. Drew Holiday started 51 games in his 19-year-old year. Stephon Marbury started 64. Tony Parker started 72. Kyrie Irving played 51. Kyrie shot 47%. Parker shot 42. Marbury shot 41. Those are pretty low. Bradley Beal did it a year ago and shot pretty poorly at 41, and Drew Holiday shot 44. So I think, and this is not a great shooter, so we'll see. But I think that gives you a little. He probably would not have a particularly high shooting percentage coming into this next season. But it was interesting to see other players who have done that. Then, as I was going through the car wash with Dante Exum and all the interviews in the backwards, I tried to share with you on my Instagram account. If you haven't seen those, at dlock09. The next thing that took place was I was watching the draft board and suddenly realized, hey, Rodney Hood has not been drafted yet, and the Jazz really like this guy. I was aware of that the Jazz liked him. I was also aware that the Jazz didn't really like a lot at 23. That 23 had become a little bit of a kind of a bugaboo for them in their analysis, and that they needed somebody to probably slip in this draft if they were going to have any success like they wanted to with this second pick. That the draft, they didn't love the way the draft broke out at 23. And they needed someone to slip, and there was Rodney Hood slipping. I also had held conversations with people in the Jazz organization about what do you think you could move up with, and the feeling was that 35 and 23 might be able to get you to 19 or 20, and in fact that's what the Jazz did. They started to call around, and as they were calling around and teams were saying no, all of a sudden the draft proceeded, and suddenly they realized that Rodney Hood was going to get to them, and they've grabbed the 6'9" player out of Mississippi State. It was, very surprising, I think. Hood spent a year at Mississippi State, had some success there, and then went to Duke. He transferred. He took a year off and transferred. So he's 21 years old. He's a little older. He had a very, very good combine. In fact, one of the Jazz people said to me he was the best player to participate in the combine. So a little surprising that he slid after such a good combine with most recent memory, but something, just the way the draft broke out, there were a few surprises in there, and it didn't go the way he wanted. He averaged 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. While at Duke, he shot 46% and 40% from three. When he was at Mississippi State as a freshman 2 years prior, he averaged 10 points, shot 36% from three. He went to the line 135 times, which is 4 times a game, which is plenty. He shot 81%. I'll tell you, when I watched, and I think if you remember, if you're a tip-off loyalist, I said this at some point in time. I said when watching Jabari that I often liked Rodney Hood better. I'm really impressed. He's one of the best pick-and-roll point guards that's out there. He actually pick-and-roll wings that's out there. He was probably the best pick-and-roll wing in this league. I think he's going to be able to do more in the pro game. He's got a chance to be good. I don't think he's got a chance to be a star, but Mike Krzyzewski insisted in articles, and of course he is his own player, but he could be a starter on a good NBA team. So the Jazz may have found 2 here. They may have found one kid who's got a chance to be a superstar, and then they have another kid who may have a chance to be a good, solid player in the NBA. He's a left-hander, which I think it works to his advantage a little bit. He's an interesting player. His draft combine numbers, he measured at 6'7" and a quarter without shoes, 6'8" and a half with shoes. That's a legitimate size 2 or 3. His wingspan's nothing outstanding. It's 6'8". It's exactly his height with shoes. And his standing reach, his max vertical is 29. I don't have any comparable of what I could probably look it up on Draft Express. It's such a good site. And see if I can find something that tells me what his comparable numbers are from measurements, and see if I can find anything there that tells you. In fact, I will try it right now to see if I can. Let's see. Let's go max vert and see where that gets us. See if I can link it. His max vert did not seem to be particularly high, and he's not. I don't think he's an elite level athlete. Particularly from just some of the statistical stuff, he doesn't go to the rim a huge amount. So I think that shows that he's not an elite level athlete. But he's a good shooter. Plays the game hard. Plays the game right. He can see the floor. I think that was what became clear when getting some reports from Jazz people that he saw the floor and played the game the way it's supposed to be played. Again, though, 54% of picks after number 11 in a draft don't make it. So, when you have a guy who's not an elite athlete, and maybe it turns out that it's just a little hard for him to get his shots off and get everything done in this league. Time will tell. I'm not one who loves to sit here and tell you, how all of our guys are going to make it every second, because that's a pretty artificial picture to say. I think I said his vertical was 27.5. Does anybody listening who actually? That would be Ken. He's the only one in the chat room, and some piece of steak. Maybe Ken heard what I said there. I'm not sure on that. So that's the night. It was really, that's a tremendous night. I'm looking at the verticals and I don't see anything comparable that if I gave you a name it would mean anything to you. It's frankly a bunch of foreign players that don't seem to resonate in any way, shape, or form. So, that's sorry that did not come together. I probably haven't spent enough time analyzing the draft and all of the other aspects of it. I was a little surprised by what a little surprised by Philadelphia. I didn't like the middle of this draft a great deal, so I'm not a big Gary Harris guy and some of these other guys, but I haven't watched them a great deal. So we'll see. There were definitely some surprises. Jordan Clarkson, who didn't work out great for the Jazz, went down to 48th, and Markel Brown, who's decent, went second round. And you know what? Every year we talk about, oh my gosh, I can't believe you won the second round, what a steal, and then the player never pans out. second-round picks, there's usually a reason. The scouts know what they are able to do and why they're able to do it. So that is the tip-off today. I hope hopefully I'm not lacking too much energy for you at 3:52 in the morning. I'm going to go take my hour nap, but I'm going to post this for you so that you have something for tomorrow morning. And let me check if there's any questions. Let me try to think of what some of the questions are. There are some questions. Wow. All right, let me run through the questions. You guys are incredible. Neither Exum or Hood expected to be drafted by Utah. Both seemed to have a good attitude about coming to Utah. Did that strike you as being genuinely happy about it? At first I thought Hood was just kind of stunned. I think it had been a long thing. He'd sat there for a while, and then he warmed up in the process. So I think that I think he seemed genuinely happy. I think these guys are all genuinely happy. They want to go play basketball. They just became pros. It's the greatest compliment that they can have. I think they're happy. Exum, I think, kind of realized he got caught up in an agent game. He dealt with the Trey Burke question very, very well. I'm sure he would probably have rather gone to some place where he didn't have to deal with another point guard. But he's also 18 years old and probably just barely 200 pounds, and it's probably going to be good for him. Adam, so do you think Trey and Exum will play together, or is this the phase out of Trey? I think it's too early for that. And Trey's trending well. I think we're seeing a lot of two-point guard teams coming together. I think also Exum is 18 years old and young and probably going to struggle a little bit at some point in time. Maybe not. Maybe he's really that special. But I think it might be good that you can – I would think it might be good if you can keep him from playing 30 minutes a night and wearing out as the season goes on. And I think they can play together. I think you can also let Exum have some times where he gets the rhythm and gets rolling. And I think on the other end of things, I think you can – probably protect Exum a little bit in this opening season. But I think they, dual multiple pick and rolls. A lot of guys can bring the floor up. And I also think it's probably good. I think it's also probably good for Trey to have someone who's going to make him work. I think Trey's going to work out harder today than he did yesterday. He was there tonight. He was a total class act, as he always is. He was happy about his little baby. He's a good dude. Trey's a really good dude. And Trey's rookie year was not very good, but that's not an indicator very often of whether or not players who are under the age of 20 as point guards have any success in this league. So I wouldn't over worry about that too much. I think Trey's still got a lot of chance to be fine and figure this out. And if Trey figures it out, then you got two pretty fabulous guards who are ball handlers, and frankly at 6'6", Dante can handle playing the two if he needs to, and play with both the ball in his hands and out of his hands. And Trey may be better at times the ball out of his hands, or you just run multiple pick and rolls. How important was Richard Shearbrooks' decision for the Jazz taking Exum? I don't know, but my natural instinct is probably not that important. In the sense that I think all their scouts cover the U19s and all their scouts cover the Nike Hoop Summit, which are the two times they've seen it. Rich Shearbrooks is a great scout, but he usually does Europe's and a little bit more kind of hidden European things. So I'm not sure that I think that he had a lot to do with scouting Dante Exum. Caleb Dinsdale, would you rather have a backcourt of Burke, Exum, Hayward, or Burke? I'd like to see Gordon play the two spot too. I will admit that I've already had the fantasy thought of Exum and Hayward together in the backcourt, and the 6'6", 6'8" combination that you have there. Alec's going to be. I think Alec is a fabulous scorer. I think Alec might be a fabulous scorer off the bench. Maybe he's going to develop into DeMar DeRozan. That would be the best case scenario for him as a starter. And then you have a plethora of riches, and you deal with it in whatever way you need to. If we become Exum, Burks, and Hayward across the front line or the backcourt to start, you're fine there too. You're 6'6", 6'5". 6'8", you're probably still classified as long in what you're able to do. If you need to have it be Trey, Exum, and Hayward with Alec coming off the bench, then that's how you work it. But I don't think it'll be a problem. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I think you might even see Hayward slide down and play a little 4 with these other three guys at times. Let's go to Dustin. Do you think Ian Clark will be on the team next year? I think he'll have a chance when he comes to camp. He's a great kid, so that'll help him out. I don't know if that will. I don't know if that will. I don't know. He'll have to make the team. He'll have to play better than he did last year. A Laker fan commented to you that you guys got Tony Parker and Exum. Do you see it? Nah, they're very different. 1.66, 6'1", but maybe that kind of speed. I think there might be something to it. Tony had a huge language barrier he had to get through too a little bit, and that's not something that he has to do. So I think that's probably to advantage. I sure hope so. That would be fabulous. What the hell are we doing with Trey? Trey's our point guard. He had a good rookie year. He hit huge shots for us. His shooting numbers were not good enough. He didn't get to the line enough, and he didn't work inside. He didn't finish in the restricted area, and those are things he's working on to improve. And there's nothing in his rookie year that dissuaded anyone from believing he's going to have a good pro career. In fact, his numbers are pointing in the correct direction. Lyle, any unreleased details on the Jonell Stokes to Memphis for 2000? No, there's not. I mean, I think the Jazz, I guess by definition, made a bad deal. They simply did not want a third rookie coming to camp. The best deal they didn't have a European to stash. It's not always that easy just to stash Europeans. It's not something a lot of Europeans like. It's not why they enter the draft. They enter the draft playing the NBA. You got to make sure that the agent is willing to do it and that they want to do it. And the Jazz did not. That's the best deal they got. It may not turn out to be a very good one, but they really did not want a third rookie coming to camp. And Clint is going to just keep me up all night. How important is it to have a pair of combo guard ball handlers in today's NBA? I think it's very important. I think it goes to the Bledsoe-Dragic lineup, the Billups-Chris Paul lineup. Someone told me it was George Karl did it before that. I don't remember. I mean, it almost goes back to Strunis, Marciulionis kind of stuff. So I think that, I think it's very important. Ryan Jones, there's like 40 of you watching, 30 of you watching right now. You crazy? Did the Jazz improve defensively with this draft? No, I don't think so, actually. I think Dante Exum's at 0.0 defensively. I think it's going to be a real struggle for him. Rodney Hood should be able to defend the ball a little bit. He's got nice size, but they're going to have to do that with coaching and team concepts. All right, one or two more, and then I'm going to try to take an hour nap. Randy, heard that Neto was going to stay in Spain since we drafted Exum. Does that draft have any implication on Tomic? I don't know if Jody's correct on that. His supposition was that if you already have Trey Burke and if you already have Trey Burke and Dante Exum, I can't imagine you have three young point guards, so I would assume that Neto does go back to Europe. I think he's here, though, as Rudy has shown us. And I don't know about Tomic. Clint Peterson just tweeted you the link to this story. Sherbrooks wasted no time doling out the earliest invite in the history of Nike Hoop Summit, landing Exum nearly a year in advance of the event. So I guess he knew something about him. It's an interesting backstory. Nice job, guys. I didn't hear that. I don't know if Dennis talked about that tonight or not. I did not know that. All right, and Adam Filton, how do you think this team can do realistically? I'm not sure we added any wins to the roster for next year. I don't know if Dante's in a position where he can get you wins next year. And Rodney Hood's a 23rd pick in the first round. Those don't usually add you a lot of wins. I think it could be another year where it's hard to get wins to come by. Hopefully Quinn institutes a system that helps us a little bit. A bunch of our guys take some steps. We have a little bit better depth than we had before. But I think it could be another year in the process, and at some point, the only negative I would say about today is, and I don't know if this is even a negative, but we're still in asset accumulation mode. At some point, we've got to get out of asset accumulation mode and start building toward a franchise. And maybe we did that with Dante, and he's 18 years old, and in 2 years he'll be 20 or 21, and very clear he's going to be a superstar. And then that's piece, 1 or 2 in our franchise, and hopefully Gordon's developed into piece number 3, and maybe one of our other guys has taken a step as well, or we move some of our assets in to be able to turn them into that. So the very impressive day with the draft as it was. We tried to get the number 1 pick and worked at it and worked at it and worked at it, and they weren't able to get it done. So you're still in asset accumulation mode, and I don't see this as a roster that pulls off a lot of wins next year. All right, talk to you guys later. That is your tip-off early morning Sunday 4 a.m. edition, and we'll have it for you. Wanted to get you something on a Friday. See you.